Hey Dude,
The 90s called.
with Christine Taylor and David Lascher.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Hey Dude, the 90s Called podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Christine.
And I'm David. Hi, Christine. How are you?
I'm good. You got a baseball cap on. I like it.
It's my
I
UT,
like it.
UT Texas hat.
Did you get a lot of merch when you visited Casey?
Oh, yeah. I picked the right year to start watching Texas football. I'll tell you that.
Are they great?
I mean, they were undefeated until this weekend. They beat Alabama in Alabama, which is unheard of.
Wow.
They have an amazing team, and they have this kid, Arch Manning, sitting on the bench as a freshman, just watching and learning. It's Peyton and Eli's have a brother who supposedly was an insane football player, but he got injured. So it's his kid. Arch Manning was the biggest high school football recruit in like decades, and he's at UT.
Wow, that is cool.
Yeah,
Talent,
I know you're a sports
talent
fan.
in the family. Yes, I am. I don't watch like college basketball. I watch a lot of, but not college football. But I feel like it's part of what the fall is on Saturdays, like the background noise of TV. I like sports just on all the time. Like if there's tennis, if there's golf, I just like it. I like sports. So that's very cool. Is Casey going to all the games? Like, does he have a crew and he's got a fraternity, but
his whole fraternity went to Dallas to Texas A&M, which hosted this game between UT and Oklahoma, I think it was. And then, anyway, I don't want to bore our listeners, but it's been an exciting time in Austin, Texas for my son, Casey.
Very cool.
How are you? What's going on in your world?
Well, we're exactly where you were last year with Quinn because we are in college applications.
Oh, my God.
And I remember you and I sitting down because we were just about to start this podcast.
Yeah.
It was like, I think last November we sat down and before we did our first like promos or whatever it was. But and I talked to Casey and he was so in it. And I just I was like, oh, I remember it with Ella. I dread it next year. And now here we are. I can't believe it's October. So there's some deadlines coming up. But it's surprisingly different because having done it before with my daughter who was she steered the ship. She knew what she was doing. She knew where she wanted to apply when. She didn't want to apply early anywhere. So she left a lot of stuff that was kind of all piled up. Whereas Quinn is just kind of like has a couple that he's applying early to. He's got some applying regular. Like it's been fairly manageable. And I almost don't want to jinx it. It's kind of feeling calm, which I'm shocked by. But maybe I just was bracing myself for the worst. And now I'm pleasantly surprised. So
I'm so glad you're taking it calmly because it can be very stressful. And we had the same thing where Hannah really took care of her own stuff.
Yes.
And Casey, we had hired some kind of college counselor to help him with his essays, and they were not getting along. He wasn't doing the deadlines. No. He wasn't doing the work. And she was blaming him, and he was saying he didn't like her. I was like, all right, enough. I'm taking over. And I was editing essays for several months, every single night.
Isn't it amazing the jobs we as parents, like we have our careers, but then we've got our kids and it's sort of like whatever they are doing, we have to stop everything. It was like with Dylan, it was, all right, we'll continue this conversation because we have guests in the waiting room. And this is exciting, listeners, because this is in a world we have not explored yet on our podcast. It's not only just 90s, but the world of daytime soap operas. I mean, they date so far back. Like Ben's mom was on a soap opera, like 60s, 70s, 80s. Yes, she was on All My Children.
They're like from the 50s, right?
They're from forever, right? Exactly. But they're huge, and these daytime stars, and they are mega stars. Become iconic. They become household names, and their characters become household names. And we have two of them today. Like,
they're the biggest. Maybe Luke and Laura, but these guys are up there with them. Yeah,
Bo and Hope. So I think I think we have Kristian in the waiting room. I think it looks like we are still waiting on Peter. But why don't we bring? They're here. They're here. So why don't we bring our guests in today? The infamous Bo and Hope, aka Kristian Alfonso and Peter Reckell.
Hey guys.
All right.
Here we go.
This is like, you two are just iconic. I feel like there's so much we want to talk about because, like I was saying, you are our first daytime soap megastars. Like you guys are like, I feel like our listeners have been like, when are you going to have soap stars on? That's like so 90s. I mean, it goes so far pre-90s, obviously decades before the 90s, but you know,
not too many.
not for you guys.
Before.
No, but you tell us about the sort of the origin. Did you guys come on the show together, or like did you meet each other right from the get-go, or were one of you was on first? Like, tell us a little bit of the origin story.
Kristian, you got to tell the audition story.
Oh,
yeah, take us to like how old you were, because you were probably a baby.
so
Kristian got her job first, so she can tell this story.
okay, so I don't even know where to start. I was living in New York, modeling. With who was I with at that time? I think it was Ford or Elite. I can't remember. But anyway, I was flown out here. I was put into contract with NBC because I did this movie with Rock Hudson.
No way.
gosh.
What?
Yeah, movie with Rock Hudson, which was he was the nicest, sweetest, who ended up becoming a fan of Days of Our Lives. We ran into each other in Hamburger Hamlet years later. I was waiting for my takeout after I had left the studio, and I felt this tap on my shoulder, and I turned around, and it was Rock, and I was like, oh my gosh, hi, how are you? And he's like, just tell me, is this going to happen? I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, wow. That's trippy because he's such a legend.
An unbelievable legend, such a kind man. Just amazing, absolutely amazing. But anyway, okay, moving ahead. And after doing the movie, NBC had put me under contract. I was still living back east, and the role of Days of Our Lives came up, and I was like, oh, no, I can't. I was still in school, high school.
Oh, wow.
I was like a freshman or sophomore. And so,
Christine and I can relate to
but
that.
thank goodness I said no, and they cast it. But then many years later, the role came up, and I was in Los Angeles, and they cast me and moved me from New York to Los Angeles. And from there, I was so excited. I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, really had no clue, but was so grateful and so thankful. But then they were going to be casting the role of Bo.
Mm-hmm.
So my agents called and said, they want you to test with that. I go, no, I'm not available. I'm not here. I'm in Boston. I'm home. I'm in New York. I'm anywhere but here. Because I was so afraid that if they saw me again, they'd realize, oh my God, we made such a huge mistake. What were we thinking?
Right. Imposter syndrome, right?
Wait a minute, Kristian, had you worked at all yet?
Yes, I only did only with Rock Hudson.
No, I mean on Days of Our Lives. Had you started?
No, I hadn't even started.
Oh,
that's
okay.
why I was like, oh no, please don't pull the rug out from underneath. I'm like, Daddy, Mom, they'll know that I can't act.
They're gonna hate me, right?
What, they wanted you to go to like NBC in Burbank and test together?
Yes, they wanted me to test with Peter.
That's pressure. Yeah.
Who had tested also.
Well, you would have had to test with like 5 or 6 of us, because I think that's how many were at the final test.
Oh, I was not there because I was unavailable.
Yeah, I know. I did.
Unavailable.
But let me ask you, Pete, because I was just going to share with them, who else tested for your role was Tom Cruise.
No way.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, Peter, you knew that. Remember Fran sat next to him on the plane on the way back from somewhere, and it was Tom, and they started talking, and she said she worked on Days of Our Lives, and he was like, oh, I tested for the role of Bo. You don't remember that?
Did not.
Yes,
that's a crazy story. Wow.
I love this.
Wow.
This is so
That's
great.
good bragging rights for Peter. For what it's worth. Like,
Man, I could have been using that for the last 40 years.
right. I beat Tom Cruise at a network test for a 40-year job.
I think he did okay.
We're not worried. We're not worried. But so Kristian, you were unavailable. Very unavailable, out of town.
Very unavailable.
We don't know what city you were in.
Country.
Country.
I had similar kind of making up stories because I during that it took quite a while from the original audition to the going to tape with however many of us that did that, and I grew a beard in that time, and when it got to doing that final audition, Al said, "Hey, can you shave your beard?" And I was like, "No, I'm keeping it for something else I'm up for."
Total lie.
Good answer.
Total lie. And
keep them guessing.
Yes.
Yeah. And
makes them want you even more.
Right.
Yeah, for some reason it worked. So
you two really did not meet each other until you stepped on the set to shoot your first scene?
Well, we rehearsed and stuff.
You rehearsed, okay.
Back then we had we did one show a day, and so we had so many rehearsals in the morning and dress rehearsals and notes, and before we finally went in, and so it was. We didn't meet before that day though, did we, Kristian?
No, I just remember you walk and go, "Hi, I'm Pete," and I'm like, "I'm Kristian."
Hi, let's do it.
Do this. Let's have fun.
Right. We're gonna work together for like 4 decades.
Can you even imagine? Like you must have just had, like, this was just a fun new job, right?
It was a fun new job for sure. I was a nervous wreck a majority of the time because because Pete was much more advanced in his talents and craft.
I'd already done I'd done 2 years on As the World Turns, so I knew a little bit more how it went. So it worked well for both of us because I could go, "Hey, this is what's happening."
But at the same time, also something that I've always admired in Peter, and my skating helped me with, and that was determination and going that extra mile, not afraid of the hard work. As I can recall, Pete, at Sunset Gower, or whether it was Studio 9 in Burbank, that even after our day was done, we'd stay and we'd go over the next day's show to see what we could do.
Yeah, the two of us worked so much back then. Albert actually came to me one day and said, or he called me to his office and said, "You guys have worked more than any other daytime actors have worked in this amount of time." That it was like our first year or something, because we were working 4 or 5 days a week and
shooting an episode a day, right? It's not easy work. That's a lot of lines to learn.
And we were a huge storyline, obviously, for that whole time, and which was, astounding for the two of us. We just, Kristian and I just gobbled it up. Like she said, we would work all the time, hang out. Hey, let's go. When we didn't do it at the studio, we go to one of our houses and work things out. So we were always looking for what more we could do.
And was that, you said it was a major storyline. Did they know it was going to be a major storyline right off the bat, or did they just see the chemistry and see how well you work together, and then they were like, "This is too good"?
I don't think they planned it. I think that it was orchestrated really well by the producers, the writers, the network. I mean, everybody was involved. And then when we started to take off a little bit, then I think they just gave us more and more and more. And it was an incredible opportunity for both of us because they were both such fun, dynamic characters.
That's one thing good about daytime. And, they bring these characters on and, the writers and producers have that time to look and see, watch. And I admire the writers and producers for doing that. And they see what you can do. And then they take stories in that direction. The direction of the two of us that we got to do with, Wrong Side of the Tracks. It's an old storyline, but and
of course,
that whole dynamic came together, not because of us, but because we had this amazing writing that we got the pleasure of exploring.
One of the things too that kept it fun for us, and I think I can speak for you as well, is that I had mentioned that we rehearsed a lot, which we did. We wanted to make sure that it was solid, so when we got out there, we could have fun. I think that what kept it fresh for me and new and interesting, and I think for Pete as well, is that we really never knew. We knew what the lines were going to be in the dialogue, but we never really knew what else was going to take place or how he was going to react, which of course would make me react in a different manner than maybe I did in the dressing room when we rehearsed it. It was never the same. It was always new.
And the writing was so imaginative, right? Almost like an animated show. Like, you know, you can do anything. I'm seeing here, Bo's character died of a brain tumor in 2015 and then came back to life in a cryogenic chamber.
Yeah, that was the most recent.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
that was beyond Salem. That was when they were doing these short amount of shows for Peacock.
Oh, right. The sort of next generation, right? Like the sort of reboot.
In that writer's room, they must have been like, anything goes. If someone's died, they're going to come back to life in a chamber or whatever.
Well, not necessarily. I don't know if Pete would have come back if it wasn't so cleverly told and done, instead of like, oh, you've done somebody wandering, because we did have that story about it one time where a character had died and came back and he was just found wandering like in the Horton Square. I'm like, how crazy is it? Nobody recognizes him? Everybody knows that. This is insane. How can I sell this? I'm just
suspend your disbelief.
Well, and they handled that from the very beginning. When I died, you kind of didn't really know what happened, and so they kind of plan ahead for the.
Yeah, well, take us through, because I feel like you both had such longevity on this show, and were there periods of time that that you just sort of said, I need to go on, I need to explore some other things, or, whatever, just, because it looks like there were some moments of leaving and coming back. And I actually, my first roommate in LA, who's a very dear friend of mine, is Martha Byrne, who was on As the World Turns. In her, she was on it as a teenager, and then she left and moved to LA, and that's when we were roommates. And then, she kind of moved back, and they welcomed her back on the show, and she had an entire new sort of, a new generation of people, a new character. I mean, it's the same character, but a new storyline. And I just feel like there's something so... it just feels like when you found your home at a show like that and they love you and you do need to go off and do something, but then come back, it feels from the outsider's perspective that you get welcomed back with open arms.
Yeah, it is very much a family thing. And that's sort of what they've been doing on the show for the last few years. You see a lot of the older characters coming back in, and the audience loved that, because the 80s and 90s was when daytime television was huge, and that's one reason that I came back, is because they say, hey, come on back, and this is the kind of storyline you get to do. And actually, in preparation for this interview, I was looking at the show and the schedule that the actors have, and this might blow you away, Kristian, so hold on. And the schedule they have, and I'm looking, they do a bunch of shows and then they have a couple of weeks off, and they do a bunch of shows, and I'm like, you know what? I think I can do that.
Yeah. Hey, this is what I'll explain to you about that, because I was there during that time. It's not as easy as it sounds. Now they're doing
9 shows
in 1 week, which is absolutely.
Oh my goodness! That's, how many pages is that? That's how do you do that?
That is just
9 shows.
I don't know how they're doing it.
Well, and they've streamlined the shows, so well that we don't obviously you don't see people off of the set. They have very minimum sets. They have streamlined it quite amazing. But for the actors, when you are working, you're obviously busting your butt.
Did you guys, were you after the Luke and Laura storyline?
Actually, our producer that I think is mostly responsible, Albert, Al Rabin and Shelley Curtis. I think the two of them, Shelley really, I think she worked at GH when Luke and Laura was so huge. And she brought over some of that, not chemistry, but the dynamics of how that worked.
So you came on the heels of them.
Yeah.
They saw how big this type of partnership could be. Because I was not a soap opera watcher, but everyone in the world knew those two. And when they had their wedding, it was all over, everyone in the world knew about them, whether you watched the soap opera or not.
Right. Yeah. And we like you say, we were right on the heels of that.
And you, in your own right, became the sort of next chapter of that on a different show. But, you hear the names Bo and Hope, and it's like you immediately see your faces, whether you were a Days of Our Lives fan or not. And it's, to sort of supersede the show itself and make your way into popular culture and the entertainment world. I mean, it's a really huge feat. And to know that you are working as hard as you are working. Now, is Days of Our Lives one of the few that's left?
Days are going to make it to their 60th anniversary, I believe.
Oh my gosh.
This is the end of this next spring will be the end of the 59th, and then next year will be the 60th?
Not next year, the year after, I think. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I know that they're under contract through the 60th.
Wow. I auditioned for it in probably yes, I did. And I'll tell you,
Bennifer?
I don't know the name of the character, but I'm going to tell you who got the part. And
okay.
I don't know that you see us in the same realm, but Lisa Rinna
got
the part.
That was after, I don't think I was there. Well, I wasn't there when Lisa came on.
That was like early 90s-ish, maybe 93, 94-ish, I want to say.
Yeah, I don't think Kristian was there when Lisa came on.
No, I was there in 90. I came back at the end. I think I came back in March or April or whatever of 94.
Okay. So this must have been before maybe 90, because I moved to LA in 91. And I remember there were a couple soap auditions. I had auditioned in New York too. I was an East Coast girl. And I could not get a soap opera to save my life. And I loved them. And I thought, what a great job. And it just seemed so fun. And I really could. I remember that this is my ridiculous story is as a 16-year-old from Allentown, Pennsylvania, there was an audition for Guiding Light. And they said that, edgy. And I could have been, I was like that was all it was, edgy. She's edgy. And you're
the opposite of edgy.
I'm still the opposite of edgy. And my version of 16-year-old Allentown, Pennsylvania, Christine thought was edgy was like, I blew dry my hair straight and I wore a jean jacket, an acid wash jean jacket.
Uh-huh.
Needless to say, I did not get the part.
You must have looked like a badass, though.
A real badass,
really
right?
Scary and edgy.
How far did you get on the audition for Days?
Days was an actual, I screen tested because it was nerve-wracking.
Then I would have tested with you.
Oh my gosh. See, I was probably
you would have, Pete.
That was Robert probably tested with you.
Okay.
I'm on this interview.
No, it was with an actor. I feel like I would have remembered if it was you. But it was so nerve wracking because it also felt like, it's so cliche, but it felt like Tootsie. Like I felt like, okay, we're there and we're in the stage with all the camera people, and I'd never screen tested for anything in my life. Lisa Rinna got it. So I wasn't offended. It wasn't like it was a prototype of me who got the part, but it was a great experience. It was cool. And the cool thing when you would go audition for soap operas, even in New York, was you would see the soap stuff. You guys would be walking around like through the wherever it was, whatever studio we were in, you'd see people and you're like, oh my God, that's so-and-so. That's so anyway, I think it's amazing like that. And you two just seem like, of course we have to ask, were you ever romantically involved in real life? Like, did you guys ever have a fling? No.
I think that's what one of the reasons you involve that, then you have all this extra drama when you're going into work because couples have their issue and you don't want to bring that to work and get that.
True. So you guys you were clear on that. You knew, like, you just had, it was like it worked for the work and then the rest. Amazing. Yeah. So Kristian, you mentioned earlier, and I want to bring this up, but you mentioned your skating. You were a competitive figure skater?
I was a competitive figure skater. It's just so funny that you bring this up because I was doing some purging in the house, and I was like to my husband, honey, what do you think? Should I get rid of my ice skates? And it's taking up room, and da-da-da, and they're so big, and da-da-da. And he's like, yeah, I mean, I said, well, he said, why are you hanging on to it? I said, I don't know. It's just like all those memories.
No, you've got to hang on to them.
I just like, I don't know if I can. They're still there.
Yeah.
They're still up in the closet. And
oh, good. Yeah, you can't throw that stuff out.
I know. They're custom made, and they're so heavy, like 5 pounds a piece. These ice skates, and I was lifting them up. Like, God, how did I even jump in these? It's such a beautiful sport. Gorgeous, beautiful sport.
Beautiful to watch. I don't know how anyone does it. Did you start as a wee little girl?
Actually, my sister was figure skating. Anything she did, I wanted to do. So when she was first took dancing classes or whatever, and I was like, oh, I want to do that. So I'd start doing it, and my sister would quit. So then she'd start ice skating. I was like, oh, I want to do that. Can I just no, you're doing dancing, she's doing ice skate. But then she quit, and I'm like, oh, can I skate now? So that's how it all kind of started. I think I was about 8 or 9, maybe 9. I started late, and then it ended because I had a tobogganing accident and broke my leg in quite a few places, which is my landing leg. Oh. But I don't regret anything.
Did you guys see the episode? Speaking of the producers and writers using what we do, did you see the episodes of when Kristian was skating?
No,
they wrote that into the show.
Yeah, so we it was when we went to
Knott's Berry Farm. We did that the remote there, and we filmed.
Yeah, it was at Knott's Berry.
The prison storyline.
Yeah.
Oh, that tied back into the prison storyline that we just shot last year.
Right.
So did it come right back? Were you able to pull off some great moves on the ice?
Yeah, I had a lot of massages because I was very sore. Very sore. Of course, I couldn't jump or do the things that I used to be able to do as well. I don't skate anymore. Oh, no, I can't. I'm too afraid to break something.
Right. I know. Our bodies it's very different now. I recently, I might have said this, I tried to do a cartwheel recently.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
And let me just tell you, like, I did it. I could do it. But what it did to me, it was like equilibrium and vertigo. It was like this. My body's
nothing about before. We're like, am I going to land it? Am I going to do it? Am I going to be okay?
And Peter, your start, you said you had been on As the World Turns for a couple of years before, and had you been acting? I saw that you went to college for drama. Yes,
Boston Conservatory of Music, which was fun. But I had a high school music teacher who was also doing a summer theater program, and he knew I was a guy's guy and built stuff. And he said, hey, you want to come build the sets on for this? And I was like, oh, sure. And then they were doing West Side Story. And, hey, want to try out for this and see if you could do it? And I was like, okay. And, what a better. You get to get in these fights and dance with pretty girls and, I was hooked. So
it's West Side Story. It's the best. Were you Tony? Were you Rip? What?
I've done it. 3 or 4 times. Back then it was Baby John, because I was
right.
14 something and looked like I was 10. And in high school, I played Tony. And then when I first moved to New York, I did a dinner theater where I played Riff, and I got some amazing stories from that. But yeah.
So a musical theater guy.
Yeah.
Do you think you'd want to keep doing it? I mean, like we're going to see a musical tonight. Like I live in New York now, so I try to see everything. You should. That would be such a next chapter.
Yeah, singing is something. It's like a muscle. You really have to keep it up. When I went to play El Gallo, I took like a couple of months. Well, about 6 weeks to get back in shape, because it's running a marathon every night when you're doing that, and it takes getting in shape. That's for sure.
Yeah, we saw recently that there's a limited run of a play on Broadway called The Shark is Broken, which is about it's written by Robert Shaw's son about Jaws. It's about the behind the scenes of the 3 actors.
Oh, that's so cool.
And it is so cool. It's just a 1 act. It's so great. But the guy, Alex Brightman, who's a big musical theater star, he played Beetlejuice on Broadway and School of Rock. He's playing the Richard Dreyfuss character. Mm-hmm. And he's so good in it. These guys are so good. We just love this. We're also big Jaws fans. But he, as a musical theater guy, when we talked to him after the show, he said, doing this show where I just get to talk for 80 minutes and I'm home by 10 o'clock at night to my wife and dog, like doing a musical is the complete opposite. It is a marathon. It is literally and you have to save your voice and you have to, the way you rest. He said, this was such a treat, but he's a really talented musical theater performer as well. But it's a lot.
Christine, did you ever do theater?
I did theater. I did high school theater. I did musical theater growing up, and not since then. And I'll try to sing along in the car with things, and I don't have the voice is not where it used to be, because it, like you said, you got to keep it up. But I can carry a tune, but nobody's gonna want to see me singing on stage at all.
You crushed it in Fiddler on the Roof, though, didn't you?
Oh my God! We're not going to make fun of my Catholic school doing Fiddler on the Roof, directed by a priest. That comes up often.
And David, what about you?
Oh yeah, I was. I grew up in Scarsdale, New York, and they had this thing called Scarsdale Summer Music Theater. Mm-hmm. It was actually like a director named Nat Habib who would come up to our high school and put on these amazing productions. I did The Music Man. I did Good News. I played The Prince and the King and I was so into musical theater, but on the DL, I would kind of, I was an athlete to my friends, but my
musical theater nerd.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes.
I didn't really talk about it, but I had the best time, the camaraderie and the rehearsals. I loved it.
Oh, so those movies that came, what is that, in the 90s about the high school jock doing music
high school
theater.
Musical.
That was you, huh?
Kind of, but then, I started professionally acting in 9th or 10th grade, and then did a bunch of commercials. And then Christine and I got this show for Nickelodeon called Hey Dude. It was my junior year of high school. So there was no hiding it then, but
oh wow!
And similarly, you both talked about, that the writers really would get to know you and write parts of you into the storylines. Because we shot our show in Tucson, Arizona, in the middle of nowhere. The writers, we all sort of lived in a hotel, and they got to know us really well. And similarly, they would write for the things we loved. I remember one of the characters was a drummer, and they had him be a drummer, and they did have me sing in an episode. I remember
they used your talents.
They tried. Yes, they tried. We were kids, but we did our best. So Days of Our Lives came back for this the reboot, which was the recent, and you both came back for that?
Well, the first time I came back was I was an angel or something for 2 shows. And then Kristian and I came back, what they called that, Beyond Salem.
Salem 2.
2.
Beyond Salem.
And right after right after that aired, they went to Peacock. And so then the next time we had like 20 some odd shows that aired last spring. That was the last time we worked.
But looking at your history, I mean, you guys have had a history of leaving and coming back and leaving and coming back. So is the door, I mean, you never say never with this type of job, right?
Yeah, well, like I was saying earlier, looks like the kind of thing I'd like to get back in, especially when this anniversary of the show's coming up. It'd be great to be part of it.
I was going to say, it feels like it's ripe for bringing some of the fan favorites back. But
I think Kristian's a little quiet over there.
Maybe not, or maybe not.
Wait, Kristian, there's a quote here that when you left Days, you said in the last few years is not the days of our lives that as I know it. Mm-hmm. So how did the show change, or how did soap operas change, and what prompted that quote?
I am one who likes to be honest.
Yeah.
As far as the history of the characters, and I did not see that happening. And I'm not going to lie in my performance or try to sell something that did not happen. If you went into my dressing room, you would see stacks of scripts because do you remember those, Pete? The reason I kept those, because we always have for many years, a changing of the guards, writers, producers. So when we'd get new writers, sometimes they weren't always familiar with the show. And that was one of the reasons why I had started saving my scripts. So that way I could go back and go, hey, listen, I know you want me to say X, Y, and Z in this long monologue, but this never happened.
But it doesn't track, right?
It doesn't, exactly. But it tracks on this page. And this show, which was 100 shows ago, the audience is going to remember. We have a very smart audience.
So you knew the show better than any of the new writers. I mean,
they
should have.
I think I knew it better. I just know what I did. Mm-hmm. In character for my character, and I didn't think that was fair. And there were things about, there were storylines that I did not agree with, and the directions that they were taking, because it was not honest of who Hope was or what she endured.
Well, and ultimately, the show is for your fans. It's for the audience, right? And if you have had fans that have watched you over all of these years, and they remember everything. The fans, they track it all. You cannot let them down.
You're absolutely right.
I hear you.
They've noticed things and props in the set that are new.
Yeah.
So
it's a respect for the audience that, right. I mean, we have an audience. Yeah, at Days of Our Lives that are so passionate. And that's something Kristian and I, have been so thankful for so many years. And we always tell the story of when we went to New Orleans, and it was kind of our first time being face to face and feeling the energy of the audience of Days of Our Lives. And since then, you gotta respect the audience. And the ratings really show that, the ratings about, if you're not respecting, they'll leave. And especially now when they have to pay for, on Peacock, they have to pay
it's all about quality.
And the bottom line is that you are the faces. No one knows who the writers are. No one. You are the representation of what that show is, not the writers, not the writer who's trying to come in and spice things up. And reimagine.
About spicing it up and having their spin on it.
No, but have it be
into the history. If
No.
you want to add to it,
I 100% understand that.
history. The history is what it is.
Well, a soap opera is not like any other form of entertainment because there are people that watch you every single day.
Every day.
Right? So there's a connection between you and your audience and it lasts for years and years. But this, I think it's amazing that this went on. This sounds like one of the most successful jobs and creative partnerships between you guys. So amazing, and never say never, right? I mean, who knows?
Well, either way, we'll see you two somewhere, somehow, in something together. I sense it.
You guys are great. Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, thank you guys.
I got to say one thing before we leave, because there's this issue with people that are in our position now. There's somebody out there who's saying they're me on Facebook and stuff, and they actually have more followers than I do. And so a lot of fans are going to them, and this person is offering. Anyway,
you have to report that to Facebook. You
know what? I have done it many times.
Yeah,
My audience has done it many times. Facebook isn't doing a darn thing. Yep. So if you have a question about somebody, just go to peterpaulreckell.com. That shows you all of my stuff. peterpaulreckell.com.
Perfect. Thank you for clearing that up. And, this is so much love and luck to both of you. This was such a treat. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you.
You guys are great. That's great.
Yeah, thank you. This was so fun.
I enjoyed this. Thank you so much, you guys.
Take care.
Bye, Petey.
Bye, Kristian.
They are so cute together, right?
It's so iconic. I was not a Days of Our Lives watcher, but and I also wasn't a General Hospital, but I knew Luke and Laura, I knew Bo and Hope, I knew these iconic characters, and that sort of relationship and friendship, and professionally and personally, is just something so unique. So unique. And so it was cool. I really think that, we can't underestimate the power of our daytime soap actors, because they are in the trenches and it is real. And like I said, it is a dying breed, but this is the Days of Our Lives is a show that has sustained for years. So I'm really glad we could talk to them.
Yeah, they were awesome. And I love that they're still close. And they're
so funny.
Yeah.
Cutting each other off and saying, no, that wasn't 7 years ago.
But they never dated, right? So there was really, they are like siblings, like brother and sister.
That was so cool. Really nice. All right. Well, thanks for joining us.
Yes,
and
thanks for listening.
Thank you. We'll be back with another one very soon.
Have a great week, everybody.
Thanks for listening. Make sure to subscribe and give us 5 stars.
And please follow us on Instagram at Hey Dude, the 90s Called. See you next time.